If you thought I was gonna let you come for my boy, you're wrong. Nope hasn't even been out a month, okay? And it's already my favorite alien movie of all time. Listen, I personally have some things about this movie, but overwhelmingly, it is one of the most engaging and one of the most fun movies I've ever seen. As obviously a very big film nerd, I always felt like I missed out on experiencing some of the popcorn summer blockbuster flicks from the 80s and 90s. I didn't ever think that I'd see in real time one of those movies that just has a social moment. And not one of those 10 years in the making kind of Infinity War saga movies, but a standalone original concept that just captures everyone's attention in the best way and lives on to be one of the great movies of that generation. Well, I think that's in part to just how overly critical film fans self-admittedly can be, and how there seems to be such a refusal for the suspension of disbelief. I mean, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, there weren't like 80,000 YouTube channels determining like the viability of reanimating dinosaurs or calculating the mass index of the rock from the beginning of Raiders. Like, even with those points aside, I still think that the modern day films that were trying to be some of those Spielberg era films for our generation just fell flat. Tomorrowland, Super 8, even Ready Player One. I just feel like these films all try and conjure up that action, adventure, sci-fi, and sometimes thriller elements of some of those early 80s and 90s blockbusters, but they fail to provide the same wonder and excitement and just generally left me feeling underwhelmed. That's why seeing Nope recently, for me, was a really big game changer. It's a ridiculously original plot with distinctive and great characters and a seriously scary threat, but somehow, in some way, some of y'all are still talking shit. And I won't fucking stand for it. I'm not! These are all the complaints I've heard about Jordan Peele's Nope and why they're stupid. OJ is uncharismatic. OJ feels representative of the kind of protagonist that, sure, we haven't really seen in a horror film. The understated and unfazed performance is something that I seriously cannot pinpoint in any other horror thriller film to date. I can say just having a cast that's like predominantly of color, having a black male lead that's generally unfazed and disinterested in unnecessary confrontation feels like a really real representation for someone within the black community. Even if it's a stereotype, the notion that black people don't play that, or that black people would never do the stupid investigate the sound in the attic, or just the general bullshit that you see in horror movies is in its human form in OJ. Black people have been saying forever we would always be the first person out of a situation like that. And that is just Daniel Kaluuya's character in its entirety. Like, that is who this kid is. He's in the car, he sees the saucer, and he's like, nope, thank you though, but I'll pass. Even so, this whole black people don't play that sort of mentality hits a standstill when Daniel Kaluuya's character can't disengage and leave this ranch behind. It's tied to his late father and their entire family legacy. While this character does represent that black character that's like, nah, I'm good, I'll pass, he can't fully leave. He has a personal connection and tie to this place, the horses and what it represents, that he can't fully reconcile with, and he has to say because of that. Which leads us to another issue I've seen people bring up about OJ. Why does OJ keep going back to the ranch? So let me say this, I personally would not be taking my ass back to that ranch. Even if it were my family's legacy, no better time than to start a new one. There was a point in time when I was watching it the first time around. I was like, this is stupid that he keeps going back. I wasn't really thinking about the importance to his family, but still, it felt a little forced that one person would just need to stay on this ranch. But like I said earlier, the importance that this has to his family and their history is enough to keep him there. And honestly, 6 months prior, losing their father, and it appears that they're also short on cash, being able to maintain the only life that he's known, especially with so much happening in the past 6 months, it makes sense that he would want to keep the home that he's known. Also, keep in mind, he's been noticing shit going down for like 6 months. Emerald just got here, so maybe he's a little more comfortable than the rest of us. It seems like even from his conversation with Emerald, him talking about the notion of a bad miracle, he's really thought this through and I think really come to terms with the supernatural element that's happening in his environment. I'm not a course girl, but considering the film's themes of exploiting animals, knowing your place in the food chain, and our desire for spectacle, I think having him be this figure that still feels a sense of duty protecting these horses, not only because of his personal connection to the ranch, but also because of his respect for these animals and their livelihood, I think that puts him in the position to be such a well-written, especially thematically, such a well-written protagonist and lead for this film. Another thing about OJ's character, his lack of a response or ability to stay calm under pressure, especially in some of those tense, high-stakes moments, isn't a matter of looking disinterested or unrealistic acting. As the only person throughout the entire film that seems to have a consistent, direct, and healthy relationship with the animals in the film, OJ's cool head under pressure more than anything I think is there to represent. He understands and respects the power that these animals and creatures hold, and because of that, he's able to face them calmly and strategically. And it's not hard to explain OJ's importance to the plot. Ultimately, this guy is the moral compass of this movie. Emerald starts off with shady intentions, Angel is there to just be a part of a UFO expose, and everyone that's there is there with some kind of self-serving intention. As OJ says before the first power outage of the film, he's doing this, continuing to work on Hollywood sets because it's what his late father would have wanted. He clearly doesn't even like being on set, and he doesn't need the fame. But the legacy that his and Emerald's ancestors built in the industry is a part of history. The first black stuntman, the first actor in a motion picture. That's something that they can't just throw away. He's committed to something that's so much more human than the various driving forces for the other characters throughout the film. Also, for people that have such an issue with Daniel Kaluuya's sort of understated, stoic performance, I ask, what do you think about Clint Eastwood or Mad Max? Both feature a character with minimal dialogue and rely on conveying a lot of emotion through visual and facial cues. So I didn't see a lot of people mad at that. So to that, back up off my boy Daniel Kaluuya. Next point, pointless characters. Angel's character doesn't make this movie, but it does provide, I think, some practical support in terms of if we saw Emerald and OJ like being able to manage all these electrical features by themselves, people would have had an issue with that. When it comes to Angel, I think Angel is a great way to round out the trio. He's so unoffensive. Like, why would anyone have a problem with him? Also, let's be real, we need a body count, okay? I'd be mad if I didn't see more bodies raptured up into that saucer, because that scene, that cut of that woman screaming, and then it just goes to OJ walking into Jupiter's claim. I feel like this is my alien. This is my alien. But no, I'd be mad if I didn't see more bodies raptured by the saucer. And I'm so glad it was more than just the faceless audience members of Ricky's performance earlier that day. I'm glad that it was someone that we had some engagement with and people that we were able to see a little bit of, just to raise those stakes and to show that people that we've been engaged with, even if they are relatively disposable characters, are still at stake and can get got at any moment. I can see thinking that Ricky Juke Park would be involved in it more. I was expecting him to be in it more, and I'm not gonna lie, I wish he took on a little bit more of a villainous role, but I still think in terms of the theme, he really served that a lot. Each of these side characters, and even in some cases a main character like Emerald, has some sort of incentive to pursue reeling in this UFO. Whether it's to trick it into revealing itself, like Emerald's trying, or to exploit it for an eighth wonder of the world show, like Ricky. It speaks to that larger theme of believing that you can outsmart or tame nature. All of these characters help to support the central theme of how shady intentions often pave the way for nature to take revenge. Because of that, these side characters that might feel pointless or unfleshed out, I think are necessary just because of the different ways that they serve the same central theme. The last part that I'm gonna talk about that I am a little conflicted about is Gordy feels unrelated. Aside from being one of my favorite sequences throughout the film, I love that set piece more than anything. And that's not to say that the UFO scenes and the saucer scenes, especially the reveal scenes, the Akira slide, like there's so many good set pieces in moments. Oh my God, them throwing, the saucer throwing the decoy in the car. But I do think it did feel disjointed from the film. Upon further thought, and I think because of my respect for Jordan Peele, After my first time viewing the film, I wasn't so much mad at the fact that it didn't really make sense to me. I was more like, he has an idea, I just don't get it yet. I understand people feeling like the Gordy's home incident felt really detached and disjointed in comparison with the rest of the film. I think those sequences were really great in building tension and sort of building mystique and adding to that larger theme, but it didn't feel related to the UFO, because this UFO and these sort of weird monkey figures that they've been promoting in the trailers, they're promoting as kind of Easter eggs throughout Ricky Juke Park's theme parks, like they haven't really come into fruition. So why is this such a central part? But I think that's because we're thinking of the story to be one cohesive story about a UAP, when really these are two interconnected stories that really share a central theme, being that you can't try to tame nature, and the sooner you stop trying, the better. Ricky Park believed that he could because of his really lucky survival in the Gordy's home incident. Emerald and OJ at one point believe that they can capitalize off of this alien near them, and they soon realize they can't. Unfortunately, Ricky had to learn the hard way. OJ is really the saving grace for him and Emerald, considering that I think Emerald would exploit anything for a quick buck, but OJ won't. He talks about how these horses are part of his responsibility to feed, and it's not for a show like Ricky Park's, but it's a part of his livelihood, but also a part of his family's legacy. Whereas Ricky Park is using this alien to basically bring in cash for his amusement park. The story isn't just about an alien attack. It should be looked at as kind of a collection of these two stories that ultimately lead to this relationship with an otherworldly being. And for that, I think it's such an awesome story, and I'm really excited, especially as time goes on, I'm really excited to see what people's critiques are with more time. I'm still in the moment of a haze, like I'm still just basking and loving it and enjoying it. It's been under a month. Dude, it's been out probably less than 2 weeks. There's some films that I feel like just aren't able to live up to the hype that they want to have, and Nope is that film that just lives up to it plus more. I'm having a blast, and I hope this video, if you've loved Nope, has been fun for you to watch. So I'll see you once I come back out of my hole. I was not planning to do this. I just saw one video, and this guy had a video saying why he didn't like Nope, and I read like 15 comments, and I was like, grad school can wait, my flight can wait, I'm doing a video on Nope. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to those parts of my life that I need to tend to, and I hope you enjoy.